Live from our studios here in Kokomlimle on digital address GA0992539. This is your home of fearless, credible and independent journalism. Welcome to the Pulse. Good afternoon. In this hour, teacher unions descend heavily on the GAS, threatening to invoke the full force of the union if the service insists on compelling Achimota School to reverse the decision not to admit a Rastafarian boy into the school.
Any management feels intimidated or is intimidated, the full weight of the union will be brought in support of that management and those teachers in those schools.
This afternoon, we hear from the Rastafari Council, which is considering legal action against the school, plus the view of an international education consultant on the way forward in this highly controversial matter. Also on the polls this afternoon, JoyNews' latest expose uncovering how security operatives and politically connected individuals have been aiding a gold smuggling syndicate, illegally exporting gold through the country's air and sea ports. We'll hear more from our latest hotline documentary by Kwete Nate coming up this evening on the JoyNews channel. Plus, are we valuing water as per the theme of this year's International Day or Water Day? We find out, plus a conversation with the Water Resources Commission officials on what we need to do to protect our water bodies. We have all these and more here on the Pulse. Thanks for choosing us once again, because we are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. I am MFR Paul. Back with details shortly. Please stay with us. Thanks so much for your company this afternoon. And we start off from the central region, where government has deployed over 30 psychologists to Apam to counsel families of the teenagers that drowned and survivors of that incident. The team of psychologists will spend a week in the community and take the survivors and families of the deceased through counseling. Gender Minister Adjoasafo addressed affected families.
With a heavy heart that I have led a team of psychologists from the Mental Health Authority, an association of psychologists and directors from the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, to pay you a visit to express our condolences to the bereaved families and the chiefs and the good people of Apam for the unfortunate incident involving our dear children. I indeed extend my condolences once again on behalf of His Excellency the President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, to the families, chiefs and people of Apam. As we all know, he already sent my colleague minister, Honorable Mavis Hawakumsen, Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, and today our regional minister, to represent him at the funeral of the children. And this visit of ours is to follow up on events. We know how hard it is for the affected parents and families in particular, and so our team of psychologists will stay behind and provide the necessary psychological support to the affected families.
Now, the DC for Gomwa West, Bismarck Kinkum, who lauded the exercise, said it is consistent with best practice.
It is a good thing that you are seeing. It's true, we have lost 13 kids. We know families are involved, brothers and sisters are involved, immediate communities are involved. We are very much sure that this could have some kind of traumatic impact on the people who have lived with these young men and women who have lost their lives. And so the idea of engaging Ghana Psychological Association and the Mental Health Authority is to have them liaise with the families and have some kind of psychological intervention so that those who are currently going through traumatic experiences, their emotions will be dealt with. These are team of professionals who know the well without. And so I would expect that mothers, fathers, brothers and sisters, chiefs, and all of us who are still in pain, if they add their professional touch, they should be able to deal with our emotions and the psyche to bring us back to normal. Usually we don't do this in Ghana, but when traumatic experience like this has happened, you will expect it to have some kind of impact on the immediate family.
We'll get you more on this subsequently. Away from that, we turn our attention to education. This time, the Ghana Education Service has this afternoon come under heavy criticism from the National Association of Graduate Teachers over its directive to the Achimota School to readmit 2 Rastafarian students, warning it could set a bad precedent. The GES directed the school to admit the students after initially refusing to admit them last week. The school insisted its rules did not allow for students to have dreadlocks. We'll hear from Nagrat shortly, but first, we can hear from the spokesperson for the GES, Cassandra Chumampofo, explaining that directive.
We have directed the school to admit the 2 students, the 2 Rastafarians, if I may put it that way. Yes.
Why?
Well, we heard that they've been denied of admission, and we thought that that wasn't the right decision by the school. Our mandate as Ghana Education Service is to provide quality education to every Ghanaian child, irrespective of its political, religion, and ethnicity, and what have you. So if the school has to engage the parents, it's not the first time we are having Rastafarians in the schools. It's all about internal communication. It's all about engaging the parents and advising the students and helping them wash their hair, bleach them, keep the hair neat. Once they focus on their studies and it doesn't affect anything in council, we feel that the school has to admit them. This is not the first time. We've had Rastafarians, some of them in some of the senior high, they have completed. Currently, we have 1 or 2 in some of our senior high schools, and we don't have any issues with them.
Now, if Achimota School has a rule like this, then it's possible that people in the past have been denied admission and we were not aware as a country. Does the GES intend to take any action against the school?
No, well, that hasn't come to our attention. So if they have turned off some people in the past, we didn't hear of that. And what has come to our attention is what we have told them to.
Cassandra Chumampofo there speaking for the Ghana Education Service in that interview with my colleague Daniel Datsi over the weekend. So after all this, today the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, is demanding the immediate reversal of this directive from the Ghana Education Service. The union says the directive is a threat to conformity and discipline in schools. It argues that this amounts to deregulating the school system, which will result in chaos. Listen to NAGRAT's president, Angel Kabono. He's been making the point at a press briefing earlier today.
The headmistress and the staff of Achimota did not deny the young man admission. They rather spelled out to the young man the rules and regulations of Achimota Senior High School. We cannot begin this day to start making exemptions for individual students based on their beliefs, based on their culture, based on their tradition, and based on many other issues. That will lead to a chaotic school environment. Because of this, NAGRAT disagrees totally with the position of the management of the Ghana Education Service. And we are calling on the Ghana Education Service to redirect the headmistress and the staff of Achimota Senior High School to ensure that the rules and regulation of Achimota Senior High School, and indeed any other senior school, is abided by every student. Let me repeat that we are calling on the Director General and the management of Ghana Education Service to redirect the management of Achimota Senior High School to ensure that the students, and indeed everybody, abide by the rules and regulation of the school. We are also calling on parents to know that every school has its own rules and regulation, and they should read the rules and regulations of each school before they allow their children to apply to those schools. Now, people are talking about human rights. Let me inform everybody that human rights is better ensured in an environment of rules and regulation.
Mr. Kabano is also challenging people who disagree with the status quo to proceed to court.
NAGRAT welcomes anyone who will want to go to court on this issue and on issue of discipline in our schools. But that when that court issue comes up, NAGRAT will attach itself because we are an interested party. That court case will not be limited into the wearing of Rasta. It will be expanded into the establishment of rules and regulation of our schools. If the courts decide that everybody can do whatever he or she likes, you will all be our guests as teachers. We will also develop ways and means of ensuring that we have proper chaotic school environment. But until then, we expect that all school rules are to be obeyed. NAGRAT solidarizes with the management and teachers of Achimota Senior High School and any other senior high school to ensure that the school rules are obeyed. If any teacher feels intimidated, if any management feels intimidated or is intimidated, the full weight of the union will be brought in support of that management and those teachers in those schools. Thank you very much.
That's the president of NAGRAT, Angel Kabano. We also know that the All Students Association of the Achimota School, Accra, has issued a statement requesting that the board of the school is allowed to take a decision on the matter. We'll get the statement shortly to you, but I've been joined on the phone by the Rastafari Council. Earlier, they threatened to sue the school to compel it to respect the religious rights of the student. Rastete Wayo, George Tete, is lawyer for the Rastafari Council. He joins us via phone. Thank you very much for your time here on the post. I first want a quick clarity. Since the GES directive, these students, have they been admitted to the school? Do we know?
Thank you very much, madam, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. It's good you have asked this question to start my contribution to this all-important topic or subject. The information we are getting this afternoon is that the parents of the two students, Mr. Aswad Krabia and Mr. Teroy, they were supposed to have a meeting with the GES as well as the Achimota headmistress or administration at the GES office. But I think it's Mr. Aswad Krabia who was able to attend. He just came out of the meeting some few minutes ago and made me understand as counsel for the case is that the GES first has indicated that the so-called directive that the citizens of this country saw in publications some few days ago was just to quell the public outburst and then the media discussion. And so therefore, the GS really didn't mean what they said. That's number one. Number two, the Achimota headmistress has gone on record in this meeting sticking to the position that they would want the kids to cut off their dreadlocks before they can enter the school. So this is the latest information coming from this meeting. And so Ghana should be aware of how the matter has now unfolded. And at this meeting, the GS supported the position of the Achimota headmistress. So as I speak with you now, I can confidently and authoritatively state on your network, in fact, Joy FM is the first network to hear the current twist of the matter, that the GS publication we all saw some few days ago, in my word now, I can say was a facade. It was a fluke. It was just to deceive the citizens of this country to believe that the GS is stepping in to restore peace, only for it to be told today at the meeting that it was just to quell the media outburst, but the GS didn't mean it, and therefore the Achimota School's position that the kids have been admitted, but they must cut off their dreadlocks before they come. That's the only way they can come onto the campus. The GS supports that. So that is the latest in respect of that matter.
Now that's interesting to hear, because over the weekend we spoke to the GES PRO, Cassandra Chumampofo, and she made it very clear that the GES is not in support of that decision for the students not to be admitted because of their dreadlocks. They've directed Achimota School to admit these students, and you're saying that they've just come out of a meeting and they were told that the boys will still have to cut their hair before they are admitted?
And that is the surprise that has hit us as victims in this matter, and as well the Rastafari Council is very much surprised at this latest development. My sister, it is really a disservice to this country if senior citizens of this country, who are managers of our public institutions, sometimes can even deceive the entire nation to the extent of getting the entire country to believe one thing, and just in a few days turn around and put up a position that indicates that we didn't really mean what we said before.
Okay.
It's really a surprise.
But I would want a quick clarity. Was the GES in this particular meeting, or
Yes.
that was communicated to you by Achimota School?
No,
Did we have representative of GES in there?
The meeting was held at the GES office.
Okay.
And it was the GES that called for the meeting for the two parties. That is the parents of the students, and then the headmistress of Achimota School. So headmistress of Achimota School was there, and Mr. Ras Aswad Krabia was there. And this is what transpired in the meeting, that he brought the matter up that you have given a directive. And then the GF deputy director, one of the deputy directors who chaired the meeting, was clear that that was just to quell the media outburst and to bring some bit of calm environment in the country. But the GES will still stand with the headmistress of Achimota's position, that she will only take the young Ghanaians on if they cut off their dreadlocks. So It simply means that the GES, 2 days ago, whatever they said, have now made a U-turn and trying to indirectly, more or less, not indirectly now, they're trying to bring out that they really didn't mean what they said. Because if the kids can only go to Achimota School based on the headmistress's position that they must cut their dreadlocks, then whatever was in that communique or that publication was a facade, was a fluke.
Well, as lawyer for the Rastafari Council in this particular case, what then happens with this backtracking by the GES, as you put it?
Yeah, so that's the first point of reference to that position. We have just made clear on your network that we are very surprised as to how persons who have such high respect and reputation in dealing with such national matters will want to say something today to the citizenry, to the entire nation, and within a few days make a U-turn. It reduces their reputation, it reduces the trust we have in these public institutions, and that alone gives us the leverage to look at the alternatives. But the other scenario now is that we now understand that from what the president of NAGRAT, Mr. Kabonu, just said on your platform, he said that you have played on your platform.
Exactly, I was just going to that.
Yes,
they've raised concerns about how it sets a bad precedent, and that they do not support the fact that GES directive for them to go to the school with their dreadlocks, and that it opens the floodgates for everyone to do what they like in terms of what they believe in and their culture.
Yeah, so that is what we are saying, that it seems that this position by NAGRAT is what has informed the GES U-turn, because you could see in Mr. Kabonu's submission that whether he was threatening or sending a signal to the GES. In fact, we all listened to what you played. It seems he was threatening the GES. He was sending a signal to the GES. In fact, he was commanding the GES to do the opposite. If not, NAGRAT will have to advise itself. And that's the sense we get from Mr. Kabonu's presentation. That now it takes Mr. Kabonu and his NAGRAT to warn or threaten the Ghana Education Service that if you do that, then we will also have to do something. That is the sense we are getting from his presentation. Okay. And we think that is what has informed the GES to make this a U-turn. Okay. The second issue is that we find some flaws in Mr. Kabonu's presentation. The two quick flaws in his submissions are: one, if he tries to make a law or a policy in an institution superior and powerful than the Constitution, then he's making a mistake. The Constitution is very clear that any law that is inconsistent, that contravenes provisions of the Constitution, will be declared void or null. If Achimota School is a school that has its policies Achimota School's policies or rules or regulations cannot supersede the Constitution. So if Mr. Kabonu goes on to say that parents and Ghanaians should be aware that every school has its rules and regulations, we all know that. But nowhere will those rules and regulations supersede the Constitution. So that's a major flaw in Mr. Kabonu's submission, and that is misleading and erroneous to the citizens of this country. Okay. The second flaw is when he goes on the tangent that if this is done, if the GS allowed this to be done, then NAGAT will have a problem dealing with issues on campus, and therefore everybody will have to do what they want. The flaw here is this. Nobody is doing what they want. These are kids who are Rastafari. They are Rastafarians. That's their culture. That's their religion. That's what they profess. That's what they practice.
Okay, just for me to understand, and I've seen a lot of people ask this particular question, is Rastafarianism in the dreadlocks? Will anything happen if they have to cut it like the school is saying? They really want to go to Achimota School. Yes, we understand the rights, but the school says these are our laws. You can't come to the school with that kind of, hair, they say. Will anything happen? What decision will these boys take?
The analogy here is this. It will be very difficult for me to speculate what will happen.
No, I'm just asking if Rastafarianism is in the dreadlocks.
No, it is not in the dreadlocks, but it is part of the profession or practicing of the culture and that religion. Let me give you a classical example. All Roman Catholics think that they must do with the rosary. But you might see some Roman Catholic without the rosary. But can you tell the Pope? Can you tell the Archbishop? Can you tell every top ardent Roman Catholic that don't move with your rosary? It will not be possible.
But Mr. Tatewayo, are you a Rastafarian?
Yes, I am.
And do you wear dreadlocks?
I've worn locks before.
But if you go to court, you're not wearing it now. Why are you not wearing it now? Can you go to court with the dreadlocks?
Personal attributes.
But does it change the fact that you're a Rastafarian?
No, it doesn't change the fact that I'm a Rastafarian. It also doesn't substantiate the fact that I must do away with the regalias of my practice.
Okay.
If I decide, like I gave you a classical example, can you tell a Roman Catholic, an ardent Roman Catholic, to live and practice his profession without the rosary? That will not be possible.
But will you be allowed to go to court? Will you be allowed to go to court with your dreadlocks?
Come again.
I'm asking if you'll be allowed to go to court in the dreadlocks.
That will be up to the court. And the point is that these are some of the backwardness of our society. But as I speak to you, we have a lawyer who practices in some area, and he has a log. He came into the jurisdiction and did a post-call. In other jurisdictions, in other countries, there are persons with dreadlocks. And let me once again go on record on your network. I was the first young person to go to KNUST with my dreadlocks, very young age in the dreadlocks. I did the entry exams. And in fact, one of your colleagues, my learned friend Samson Ladi, was my classmate at KNUST when we did our LLB. And we start for the same entry exams. When we start for the entry exams, we have to go for interview. When I went for the interview, the current dean of the UPS Law School, Professor Abochi, was one of the young lecturers on campus. He sat with three persons to interview me. Professor Ofoyamankwa was a reverend professor at the time wearing his cassock. When I appeared before them, I took off my covering on my hair. And one of the lecturers asked me, but you wear these locks? And I said, yes, I wear these locks, and that is my way of life now, the practice I believe in. Now, during the interview, there was no qualms. The only question that came, and Professor Abochi made it clear that in Ghana, this might not be appropriate as society sees it, but in other jurisdictions, these things are not a problem, and the world is moving on. I passed my interview and went to start my law profession training in the school. So the point is simply that when society keeps holding on to issues that do not matter, that's why we have a problem. If these young guys could be Ghana's astronauts tomorrow, if these two guys, because the guy who has 6, the possibility of he reading science is clear. Now, if this young chap who wants to do science with his 6 can be Ghana's astronauts tomorrow, we are just stopping this young man's future because of his hair. Okay. Are we backwards or are we moving forward?
Well, so are they still pursuing, would they still want to go to Achimota School considering the uproar and everything that has happened, or they are going to consider other options? What exactly will happen going forward?
I mean, the point is that the conduct that is happening now from Achimota's disposition is a battle. And we know that in human society, challenges and battles as council, I've made it clear to the parents that these are the challenges and the battles that your young child at age 16 will have to go through. They have to educate themselves. If Achimota is not ready to open their doors, we will advise ourselves from today's meeting. Now we know the position that the GES and Achimota are adamant in respect of the constitutional provisions, in respect of a child's education, the consistency of the Constitution and all that. We will test that in the court of law. Okay. So that must be on record on your network that we have no option than to test that in the court of law. The courts of Ghana will have to pronounce and interpret these provisions, whether Achimota School's internal rules supersede that of the Constitution. It's only a court of law that will determine that. So that option is non-negotiable. We're not negotiating that because we need to bring a final closure to this matter.
How soon will that happen?
It should happen very soon. But in the midst of that, the kids will still go to other schools. We know other schools will still admit them. The young man who has 6, he's a part of a triplet. Okay. His 2 sisters, they have gotten admission at St. John's Grammar. So there are schools out there that are opening up. There was a young man in Kumasi, Okes. As of last Friday, he was facing the same scenario. But the information we are hearing this morning is that he's gone to school, and I think he's gone through his process. So if Achimota School wants to be adamant, if Achimota School, when Kwejiragre and our forefathers were building Achimota School, they built it with the idea to churn out, to educate the black man, to educate our people. They did not build Achimota School with the notion that somebody's dreadlock must stop him from becoming Ghana's first astronaut, Ghana's first top scientist. You see, the point is this: when we put substantive justice, substantive matter to the back burner and deal with triviality, it makes the society a laughing stock. Here we are, this same Achimota School. We can go into Achimota's archives and get a record of kids who have come to this school and have gone around the rules. Let me use a clear example of, for example, Indian kids or kids from the West who have girls who have their hair. Some of them have gone to this Achimota School and have completed. Their hairs were not cut. They went through this school with their hair. This same school would deny a Ghanaian child with a little afro to go and cut her hair. What is Mr. Kabunu talking about? When those Indian kids went to Achimota with their hair on, and a Ghanaian girl was told to go and cut her afro down, where was Mr. Kabonu, and what was the position of NAGA?
Well, Mr. George Tetewayo, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. That's a valid point there, and it's an argument that most of us have made. But we're grateful. That's lawyer for the Rastafari Council, George Tetewayo. We call him Raswayo. But let me go on Zoom now and bring in Ben Kobler. He's an international education consultant with experience, vast experience in this, in education and all these issues coming up. So I'm curious. You know a lot with the UK education, the Cambridge system and all, but I'm sure you have thoughts about this particular issue that has come up at Achimota School, not wanting to admit students because they have dreadlocks. But you heard the lawyer mention that when we have children from the West coming to the schools, they are not allowed to cut their hair. What exactly are your thoughts on this issue?
Thank you very much, Emma. And I think I would say I'm very privileged to be part of this discussion today. My thought, if you would ask me, but I'll take the route of the law, if that's very clear. I think at this stage, we should all calm down. Let's have a cool head and then give opportunity to review the school policies or the school behavior policies that we currently have in Ghana, just as to do with any other issues that comes up within the school systems. I think there are 3 key issues we need to address here. And the 4th one is a question in relation to all these issues. So scores of different people are talking about human rights issues here. What's the child's human right? Are we infringing on the child's human right? People are also talking about religious grounds. That's his religion. He's entitled to that. And people are also talking about the SDG goals. That if you look at SDG 4 and you look at SDG 10, it talks about inequality and also to do with quality education. So are we infringing on all these rights? But the key question is to do with whether are we infringing on the constitutional right of this child? Now, there's a similar case that happened in Jamaica in July 2018, where an injunction was actually put on a school to allow a child to go to school until the Supreme Court of Jamaica had to resolve this issue. And so from what the lawyer for the Rastafarian Society said, they want to take the law, they want to go to the courts and seek proper representation of the boy. And so at this stage, I will call for coup heads. I will call for GES to do the right thing. I will call for the Rastafarians to also do the right thing. If the court is what they seek to go, they have the right to do so. But this is very fundamental, and it's fundamental because when issues are not dealt with properly, you get conflicting reports, and that's a clear example of what is happening as we listen to NAGRAT, we listen to GS, and we listen to the Rastafarian community. And so for me, speaking from the legalistic point of view, I think there are a number of things that the GS, the schools, the teachers, and the community at large need to actually do. So for example, there should be more training. The teachers at the school level should have more continuous professional development. They should be very abreast with social media trends, what's happening, because the students used mobile phones and all that. There's not even a clear policy on these things. So I think we need to go back and try as much as possible and address some of these issues. Now, if the schools also have behavior policies, it needs to be laid out clear. It needs to be made clear to the parent, to the student, to the teachers themselves. Because the problem is some teachers do not even understand the behavior policy, whether it's been updated, whether it's been there for 10 years, 20 years. Some of them are not updated. They don't know. Do we understand the law around some of these things? There's a conflicting report again, listening to NAGRAT and to the lawyer, saying that you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Do we really understand the law around some of these things? And that's why I said we should all have cool heads and go back to the behavior policy issues and to understand it much, much better.
Okay.
And if we are able to advise, if at the school level, the school is able to have advisors, they have lawyers, they can come into some of these issues and it wouldn't escalate.
Okay.
This far.
But you're saying that cool heads must prevail at this point, but it appears that the school has taken a strong position that until the hair is cut, these children will not be admitted into the school. GES earlier gave a directive, and it is emerging now that apparently that directive there's a U-turn on that directive. In the meantime, these two children, their education is in limbo, and that's the grave concern for the parents whilst they take the legal option in this particular issue. What then do you reckon should be happening at this point beyond just understanding what the law says about the situation?
Okay, so in my presentation, I said there was a case study in Jamaica in July 2018.
But that issue was about how they are able to keep the hair. It was hygiene issues that came up. In our case, that has not come up yet.
Right. So again, this is difficult. This is a very difficult situation, and you need to manage it properly. Now, a high-profile school like Achimota School is going through this. Then the school down the street in my area, what challenges would they face? And so it's very, very important. So at the end of the day, we need to seek the interest of the child. The child needs education. How do we offer that education to that child? How do we ensure that in all this, we do not stop the child from learning? And that's the most important thing. So I believe we have to throw back this question back to GES and to the school. Okay. And from what the lawyer is saying, is that there are options. So if there are options, I think they can look at those options. And if he's genuinely saying that this student can become astronaut or can become lawyers or doctors in future. For me, in my own experience, it does not matter where you go to school. It's your discipline, it's your ability to learn, it's your ability to endure the environment you find yourself, and you can succeed wherever you are. So for me, I think, again, I'll go back to the idea of having a cool head, having this is a clear opportunity for the government, for the schools, for the community to basically know what do we want our children to become in future.
We're grateful for your time. That's Ben Kobla. They're joining us via Zoom. He's an international education consultant and bringing his expertise to bear on this particular issue. At this point, we would want to hear from the Ghana Education Service, also from the Achimota School. We're yet to hear officially from the school, even though the old students have issued a statement in that regard. Maybe the Gender Ministry would also want to hear them on this particular issue, because we are told that there's a backtracking on this. But some parents have been interacting on this on the AM show via Zoom.
I'm with Nagrat.
Okay.
GES has issued a directive. But one thing we must understand as a country is that school is a place where there should be discipline.
Yeah.
So if we start in the classroom where everyone can do whatsoever you want, then I wonder where we are going to ensure that students are properly modeled up, so that in the near future we'll have citizens that will behave responsibly.
The father and the school should have met before.
Okay.
And even the Achimota authorities should have admitted the student first. Then afterwards, they sit down with the father and we communicate. And I don't like what GES did.
Yeah.
It's ad hoc. It's ad hoc. They have to go behind the scenes and meet authorities and talk about this.
Okay.
If you see, society has become a way, maybe. Okay, society in a way, when people see people with dreadlocks and stuff, then they are like, they are bad, they are evil, and they are stuff. But that's not what, because there are people who are Rastafarians, right? Or they have these dreadlocks, but they are in military. You see. So we shouldn't use this stuff to judge people outside.
Yeah.
We know that every institution, we have rules and regulations.
Yes, please.
If we don't follow these rules and regulations, at the end of the day, there will be chaos. Everybody can do whatever he or she will want to do. Because if you are coming to school, you are with a dreadlock.
Yeah.
Someone will also come that I have my religion.
Yeah.
Or I have my belief. This is what I also want to do. But the school is an institution. And then the rules and regulations governs everybody in the school. If we are going to follow a trend, excuse me to say, like each and everyone is supposed to do whatever he or she likes, the trend will follow, because the boy that you are talking about is from home. The same people are going to grow.
Yeah.
And they don't want to abide by rules and regulation. That's at the institute. Yes. Okay. So if you're going to break it at the end of the day, then everybody is going to follow suit.
Some parents there interacting with Mapito Sibidi on the JoyNews Interactive earlier today. Let's briefly bring in the ranking member on the Education Committee in Parliament as this issue continues to rage. Peter Nochukwu-Toy, we're grateful for your time here on the polls. So really, we haven't heard Parliament as these issues unfold at the Achimota School. What exactly have you been picking up in terms of your reading? I'm sure you've been finding out what exactly the way forward will be. Hello?
Hello, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time once again. So I was asking what exactly the position of the committee is on this particular issue with these two students and the admission to Achimota School.
Yeah, thank you very much. Although it has come to the attention of the committee, we are yet to meet on it. We just finished a preparatory meeting for tomorrow. And the Minister for Education, the Director General of Ghana Education Service, and senior officers will be with us tomorrow for the consideration of their estimates and policies. And this is going to be one of the issues that we'll be putting across to them to explain the rationale behind the instructions that they have given and what they think are going to be the ramifications for all schools. Because we feel that this is a floodgate which is being opened, and if it is not controlled, we will see all manner of people coming to our institutions dressed in various forms, and then with a very different hair styles, and we will find it very difficult to control it. So we'll meet the Minister and the Director General tomorrow, and they will brief us on the instructions and what they intend to do immediately after this. Okay. Because the situation must be controlled, and if it's not controlled, we will find ourselves in a very big trouble.
Well, we'll wait for that meeting then. Thank you so much for your time. That's the ranking member on the Education Committee in Parliament, Peter Nochu Kotoy. We've not heard the last of this issue. There'll be more subsequently. We'll take a quick break here on the Pulse. When we return, we're observing World Water Day, and the Water Resources Commission will join us for that conversation. Please stay. Welcome back. And water, they say, is life. But looking at our water bodies in this country, can we say that our water that we see, or its state, is still life? They are getting dirtier. This is the verdict from the government as the world celebrates World Water Day. As a nation makes strenuous efforts to provide water for the citizenry, there is still a plethora of challenges that some communities face with access to potable water. Let's take you to a farming community in Techima North called Tanokrom, where access to potable source of drinking water has over the years been the community's major challenge. Correspondent Anna Sabet visited the community and came through with this report.
Water is essential for the survival and productivity of all life and ecosystems. The value of water is about much more than its price. Water has enormous and complex values for our households, food, health, education, and the integrity of our natural environment. To the people of Tanokrom, a farming community under the Techima North District of the Bono East region, water continues to be their scarcest commodity in their everyday life.
Tanokrom, Nsongwane here. Me pensua, manko Tanaboase akosansua.
Our major challenge is water. We have to travel to Tanaboase or Chobodom for water.
Now, in Sobi Takwaja,
we sometimes spend between 2 and 3 hours to the nearest Takwaja River to fetch water.
And yet 2 hours to 3 hours.
Anamfo Sente is the chief of Tanokrom. He says lack of water has over the years been the community's major challenge. Our major challenge is water. How can you live without water? The only water source for the people here dried up 10 years ago. Since then, the people here would have to buy water from neighboring Tanoboase community at 1 cedi 20 pesos per gallon. We end up spending the little we get in this village buying water.
12.
This jerrycan here is 1 cedi 20 pesos, and the barrel is 12 cedis.
12.
The situation, according to the people here, negatively affects their farming and economic activities.
Because we are youth now, person call anymore. I was saying, oh, you're now you're farming, and now you're running. I used
to rear pigs, but I stopped due to the absence of water.
It is and so
our education, food, and almost everything. Esther is a caterer at the Tanoboase Basic School. She says there are days people here do not eat from the school feeding program due to the absence of water.
Well, dear, and so somewhere, Papa.
Sometimes school kids. When we don't have access to a tricycle, we don't cook and they don't get water to drink too. Bathing daily, according to health authorities, helps remove toxins, reduces stress, improves blood circulation, amongst others. However, the people here, including school-going kids, sometimes stay days without taking a bath due to the absence of water.
It's only hornity. Yeah, 2 days, and yes, I sometimes go 2 days
without a shower.
The 2 days, sure.
Sometimes I go 3 days without bathing. School-going kids in this community are dropping out due to the absence of water. If we don't get water, our children will stop schooling. How can a child go to school without bathing? With the Sustainable Development Goal 6 focusing on the availability of clean water and sanitation for all, and as the world marks the World Water Day, the people here have one simple plea to authorities. All we need now is a source of drinking water. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Tanokrum.
That's the situation in Tanokrum. But Minister for Water and Sanitation, Cecilia Abinadapa, warns that water bodies in Ghana are still under serious threat of pollution due to the continued activities of illegal mining in Ghana. At a press conference organized by the ministry to commemorate World Water Day, Cecilia Abinadapa explained that although the proportion of rivers with quality water had increased from 39% in 2016 to 57.8% in 2019, it saw a 1.2% decline by the end of 2020. According to her, this resulted in partial and complete non-operation of some water intake facilities in Ghana.
Sadly, our water ecosystems are not in a healthy state as we would like to have them. In our beloved country, it is common knowledge that illegal mining, galamsey, in particular, has affected the quality of water bodies, especially within the southwestern river system, which includes the Tano, Bear, and Cobra River basins, as well as the Pra Basin and its Ofin and Brim tributaries. Ghana Water has had on 1 or 2 occasions to close down the system in some areas because of the activities of these evil galamseyers. The proportion of rivers with fairly good ambient water quality or better at the end of 2016 was 39%. The proportion increased to 53% at the end of 2018, which was attributed mainly to the fight against illegal mining. The proportion further improved to 57.8% in 2019, but reversed to 56.6% at the end of 2020. The result is that the water intake facilities are partially or completely non-operational, which is a major public health and economic concern.
And it's World Water Day, and I have a special gift in the studio for you today. The Executive Director of the Water Resources Commission, Mr. Ben Ampoma, is my guest this afternoon on The Pulse. Thank you very much and welcome to The Pulse. Happy World Water Day.
Many, many happy returns.
Okay, so great. Today is supposed to be World Water Day, and we should be very happy that we're celebrating water, but it doesn't appear that the situation on the ground deserves or gives us that pleasure to celebrate World Water Day. I'm sure you saw the pictures from Tanokrum, for instance. How accessible is water? It should be basic, but it doesn't look like it's that basic to all of us.
Thank you very much, Amifa. It's still worthwhile that we celebrate Well Water Day. It's basically because of these issues that we celebrate Well Water Day worldwide, to draw attention to some of these issues and how together we can address them. Yeah. I do appreciate the situation that we all saw in Tanokro in terms of access to basic, water or potable water for the community. And indeed, like I just indicated, we take opportunity during these occasions, for instance, to draw public attention and also the attention of decision makers to, as it were, come out with some of these issues to let us know what is happening within the country in which we are, respect to various issues in terms of water resources. It's not only with the access, we have other challenges that we can still talk about.
What are the challenges? Because I always wonder that what is the future of the country when it comes to water? Do we have enough? Will it get to a point where we have to import water? What exactly is our situation?
In terms of what we have, in absolute terms, we don't have a problem. We have about 53.2 billion cubic meters of water. Surface. We are not talking even about underground.
Okay.
Right. But the issue has to do with where the water is in terms of distribution and also in terms of time. When do we get the water? During the rainy season, especially in the northern regions, we have a loss of water that even causes flooding. And then the next 6 months plus the Harmattan period, virtually nothing. Okay, that is a challenge. And we need to address that. Why do we have so much at a particular time and less at a particular time? And why don't we increase our storage facilities, for instance, so that we can have access to water, not only for drinking purposes, for all other uses, irrigation, industrial use, etc. So that is one. If you go to the western region and central regions, it's not the issue of quantity, but it's the issue of quality. Okay. And like the minister did indicate, the statistics show that even though we're doing well, we are going back to where we used to. So we need to focus also in terms of the quality. And indeed, if you're talking about the quality, it's not only caused by illegal mining, so to speak, even though we acknowledge that they play a significant role in doing that. Plastics, disposal of plastics, household, the way we dispose of our waste, and even during the rains, the way we go out and allow our waste that are in the streets to be washed by water, and water, every water that flows on the surface of the earth finds its way into a water body. We should be aware of that. And if it washes into a water body, it ends up being consumed by either you or myself. So these are basically, we have other institutional issues that we can talk about. But physically, it has to do with the quantity and then the quality
of the water. Okay, but talk about quality. Okay, I'm sure you.
Yeah, going forward, we were really talking about whether we can sustain it. Thinking about the issue of pollution, importing water. Importing is not an issue. It's not an option.
It's not an option at all.
Yes.
We have enough.
My point is that we shouldn't get there.
Okay.
So it's not.
But are we putting measures in place such that we don't get there?
That's why we are talking. And quite a number of measures are being put in place. But it's everybody's business to make sure that the water that we have, we protect it for our generation and then also for the future generations that will come to.
But elsewhere, others are, implementing various systems that even waste can be turned into treated water and all that. But we don't see that happening in this part.
Gradually, it is coming up. And it is part of the SDG 6. SDG 6 talks about water and sanitation for all by the year 2030. Within that, we have various targets, about 6 of them. And one of the particular targets, 6.4, talks about the issue that you've just raised. How do we efficiently use our water resources? Efficiency means reuse, for instance. And then if you have X amount of water, make sure you use it in a way that you do not discharge so much of it into the environment. Okay? And most industries are now being, as it were, made aware of the fact that if you take a small quantity of water to process your produce or products, make sure you do it in such a way that you maximize the value of the water that you are using it for, and make sure that you don't put it into the environment. Otherwise, there will be sanctions that go with it. In other jurisdictions, they've come in with the issues of incentives.
Okay.
And that is one way that we also need to go. That if somebody, if an industry or even an individual is using water in an efficient way, then you need to promote that person's behavior or practice. Okay, that is one. The other also has to do with the construction of waste treatment facilities. You and I, we witnessed last year, the government actually started this particular issue. It is very, very important, because that is one of the ways that we can treat our waste, which is liquid waste I'm talking about.
Yes.
So that we don't actually put it out into the environment to destroy it. So it is a gradual thing that we need to take up, and as it were, an attitude, a practice that we need to cultivate, which hitherto we were not, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But we need to pick it up. And because of that, we want to meet the SDG 6 goal, we need to actually address
Pay attention to that. So it's key that you mentioned that every water that gets onto the surface of the earth goes into a water body. Yeah. So it brings me to the discussion about our water bodies. That's and its state. Yeah. As we speak, of course, it's really nothing to write home about. Yeah. Most of our water bodies, as compared to what we see elsewhere, the color is just like tea, cocoa tea, some would say. Yeah. What exactly are we doing? How are we hoping that we can reverse this trend? Especially, we all know about galamsey and its fight against it.
It is a myriad of it's a big issue, complex, but we need to tackle it. First of all, and that is my view, and I think it's something that we need to, as it were, let everybody know the value of water, not for him or herself, but to the entire society. If we're able to appreciate the value of water for whatever particular use that we put in the water into, and the fact that somebody also has a value for the water, exactly, then we can, as it were, put it into good use. I'll give you an example. Last week, we all heard that a developer went to destroy some, trees around the Libusum tree, which had been consciously, planted by the communities through the Crema project supported by UTUFO and some civil society organizations, and of course, institutions like the Commission and then the Forestry. Now, for the developer, he's looking only at what is going to get out of the development that he's going to put out, without recourse to the value of the lake to the community. That is their livelihood. Okay, if the developer really appreciates the value of the water that the community gets from the lake in terms of their livelihood, he would definitely go by the rules and regulations, which says that leave 100 meters before as a buffer, which had been created.
But nothing will happen to them. That's why they keep doing it.
Of course, in this particular case, he has been sanctioned.
He has been sanctioned?
Yes. And he's been
What's the sanction?
He's been asked to plant the trees double.
Okay.
And nurse it for the next 5 years.
Oh, great.
Yes.
And who is ensuring that that is done?
The District Assembly, the regulators of which the community is also part, and then, of course, the traditional authorities, in this case, the UTUFO.
Okay, great. So we're hoping that something will be done about
it. So the point I'm making is that we all need to take it up. And here, this is a typical example of institutions and individuals taking it as a concern. If we begin to do that, gradually we'll get somewhere, right?
But what can you say?
That is one way.
Yeah, but what can you say about the status at least you have a better appreciation of
Yes,
all our water bodies
I can tell you
under your outfit.
Yes.
What is really our state in terms of our water bodies in the country?
I won't talk about the quantity. I won't talk about the quantity
yes,
because I've talked about
the issue about quality.
The quality. If you and I would also disaggregate them so that we have a fair view as to what we have.
Great.
We have 3 river systems. The Volta, which takes 70% of our water resources. Okay. Then we have the Southwestern system, which takes 22%. Okay. Then we have the coastal system, which takes 8%. Okay. The Volta, the quality is fairly good.
What's the percentage in terms of the quality? Have you put a figure to it?
I cannot give you the figure, but generally the Volta is fairly good.
Okay.
Right, fairly good. Fairly good means that on the scale that we have, it's between 50 to 80%.
Okay.
Right, fairly good. Okay. So that is that with the Volta. The coastal systems, that is Densu, Ayensu, Kakum, all those rivers that flow along the coast, the qualities are fairly good also.
Fairly good also.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
how about the southern system?
But some of them are beginning to have quality problems.
How come?
From February, we've been doing monitoring. We're doing monitoring in February. The indications are that some of them are beginning to have quality issues. But we need to interrogate and see the reasons why that is so. So that's how come I cannot give a figure on the coast. But generally, the coastal systems are.
Is it also activities of illegal mining?
That's what
exactly?
That's what we want to interrogate and see what the problem is.
Okay.
But the issue has to do with the 22%.
Which is the southern system.
Exactly. The southern system has to do with the Pra. And the Pra, Brim is a tributary of the Pra. Ofin is also a tributary of the Pra. Okay. Then we have Ankobra.
Okay.
And then we have a tunnel. And then the Bia, which we share with Côte d'Ivoire. It's a Transvandu River.
Okay.
So the problem we are talking here has to do not only with Ghana, but also with Côte d'Ivoire. Okay. And this is where we have the gold-bearing, regions, and that is where the quality is not good. Okay. It has deteriorated, especially from the latter part of 2018 coming down to 2020. And the quality has deteriorated. And indeed, you cannot really stick out your neck to point to any of these water bodies as saying being fairly good.
Okay.
All of them are of poor water quality.
Poor. So for the southern system, you can say that it's poor.
It's poor.
But whereas the Volta fairly good, coastal systems also fairly good, but we are investigating because we are seeing some signs of it not being that good.
Exactly.
But the southern system is the issue. At some point, we're told that they were clearing up. It was becoming okay.
Yeah, it was.
Because we were winning the fight against Galamsey. But you tell me that between 2018 and 2020, so what's the status
What
now?
I'm saying is that for the latter part of 2019, coming down to 2020, that's where we had a problem.
That's where you had a problem. But as we speak, what's the situation?
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
That
it's still poor.
Yeah, it's still poor.
It's still poor. But we're told that we're winning the fight against Galamsey.
That's what.
Is it not reflecting in our water?
If you look at from 2017 to 2019, especially 2018, that's when we were winning the war.
Okay. Okay.
And that is where it's, if you look at the figures the minister gave, it was from 39% in total from 2006, and it shot up to 53, and then went up to 58. Okay, and then now declining.
Okay.
Okay. So it is actually from the latter part of 2018 coming down to 2019, and then from 2020. That's where we began to experience.
That's serious. We are in 2021.
Yes.
I don't know if there's been another assessment.
That's what I'm doing. That we are doing.
We are doing that
the assessment.
So you are doing for both the coastal and the southern system.
We do for the entire country.
Okay.
We do for the entire country. So beginning April thereabout, we would have done all the analysis, and then we can tell the story better.
Okay.
We can still tell the story anyway.
Yeah, but on a day like this, we should be getting good news that at least when it comes to our major source of water as a country, we can say that we're doing well. But from the analysis that you've given me, at least 3 main, water sources that you've talked about, the Volta, the South, and the coastal system, 2 out of the 3, you don't have a good report about it.
70%, the Volta is 70%.
Of course, the Volta is 70%. The 2 combined will not give you the 70%. But at least
I normally don't want to use that as a basis to say that because of that the situation is, because even the 22% is still significant. It's still significant. And it also, as it were, serves a sizable percentage of our population. And for that matter, we should be concerned. So that is what it is.
But is there hope, you would say?
If you look at what was done from 2017 to 2018, clearly there's hope. You get the point I'm making?
I get it. I get it.
So we need to now sit down and, as it were, take stock of what went wrong, what was done, which was very good. What can we do to, as it were, change the dynamics to ensure that we even do better than what we did.
From where you sit within that period, 2017, 2018, what we did that turned the fortunes around a bit in terms of clearing up of the water and the quality improving.
It did, yeah.
But you can't say same for 2020 all the way to 2021, even though we're still, going to do that assessment, even though we're still going to work on that. Is there hope? What exactly did we do back then and what we can do now?
What we did has to do with the fact that there was this general ban on illegal mining, and also the fact that...
But the ban is still in force.
No, I thought it was...
there was a review.
There was a review.
Yeah, but so, largely it's still
and then largely also, the activities of the Vanguard is not as vibrant as it used to be.
The police have taken over.
It was not as it used to be initially. And then also, I should also think that generally the focus on the public education, as it were, has gone down a little bit, in my view. That we need to step it up also. And also make sure that the communities within themselves are much targeted, because whichever way we look at it, they are the most affected by these activities. If they tend also to appreciate the fact that the water is their, property, so to speak, and that they need to preserve it for their own particular good. It doesn't make sense, with all due respect, to give out the resource that we have, and then you go and buy sachet water, for instance. If you look at it in terms of economics, it doesn't really make sense. So what you have, you protect and use it for all that we have. So the communities also need to be actually brought on board and make them key stakeholders in terms of trying to drive this particular.
Okay, but as a country, do you think that we're taking water as seriously as we ought to? For me, to a large extent, water should be categorized as a mineral as well, considering its importance. But do you think we attach so much importance to water?
If you look at the Constitution, it gives water the same importance as minerals. And for that matter, it belongs to the state. It's been classified as such. So legally, yes, that importance is there. But however, when we come to practical issues, like I said, and of course the theme for today really brings down the point that you made. How do we value water? How important it is to us? Okay, if for culturally, or for cultural purposes, for some communities, it's quite important because that is their culture. If you go to other places also, for schools, for instance, it's for health, it's for dignity, if you even talk about sanitation, economic-wise, food security. Okay, without it, what do we do? Energy production, for instance, it's all there. So if we look at all that and we begin to appreciate what we get out of it, then its importance will come out. And ultimately, water is life.
Yes.
So if you think water is not important, then it means you don't have life.
Interesting. But are we paying the right price for water as a country such that we value it as much as we ought to.
Are you talking about the economic price or
economic price?
Intrinsic value.
Intrinsic value, the economic price, everything that has to do with water and its payment.
Well, in terms of its payment, it has to do with that is pure.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't want to, actually go there. But the point is that a lot of resources go into it in terms of investment. Bringing water to the homes takes a lot of investment. Treating it takes a lot of investment, especially even the way we're treating it now. We need to put in a lot of chemicals, and all that translates into a lot of resources. So we should be mindful of that government is putting in, and even CSOs are also doing quite a lot in terms of driving the investment into the water that we bring to our homes. So we need to appreciate the financial resources that we put into it. And we should not also forget the fact that population is also increasing.
Yeah.
And as population increases, the demand for water also keeps is high. So at any particular point in time, if we really want to make sure that water is made available to everybody, the resources also has to be there. And government has a responsibility to that. And that is not easy, so to speak.
Okay. But as we commemorate this day, whilst we try to wrap up this conversation, what should every Ghanaian watching and listening to us now take home with them in terms of commemorating this day, the value of water, and everything from where you sit?
From where I sit, water should be everybody's business. We should be concerned about the protection, the conservation, and the use of water. Because the water resources that we have now is not only for our generation, especially so it is for those who are yet unborn. So we should be mindful of our activities and practices towards the resource that God has graciously given to us for free. And that we shouldn't compromise it and make sure that we account for it in terms of our future generation.
Okay. But earlier, at least when we were growing up in school, for instance, it was part of activities, it's part of club for you to protect the water bodies, planting trees and all. Is it still the same?
Now...
Is it being inculcated in our children?
Yes, to a large extent nowadays, beginning to form what you call what you mentioned, water clubs.
Water club? Do we have water clubs now?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
But it's not as many as one would want. We need to encourage that. And then also, what we're doing is that we're involving them in the monitoring. They do monitor with toolkits, simple toolkits. And they, within every 3 months, they do it. And then they compare the results. And sometimes they confess that the quality is improving. Then we say, check the reasons why it's deteriorating, and educate your parents and siblings as such.
Super. Well, we're grateful, Mr. Ben Ampuma. I'm really enjoying the conversation. He's the Executive Secretary of the Water Resources Commission, and we've been commemorating World Water Day. Thank you so much, Mr. Ampuma. And it's time for you to place more value on water. Water is life. Now, Medical Director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, has revealed the lack of constant supply of water towards the hospital is hampering the smooth operations of the facility. He notes that though the hospital has an inbuilt water supply system, water supply is cut anytime there's a fault in any of the facilities, as it always requires the closure of the entire water system at the facility, thereby stalling operations. Mr. Amesia says the facility is now buying polytanks to store water for the various wards, a cost too huge to bear. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
One of the myriad of challenges that the Upper West Regional Hospital is facing 40 months after it starts operation is in the area of water supply. According to the medical director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, though the state-of-the-art 198-bed facility has embedded in it dedicated water supply system upon completion, they always have challenges anytime there's a pipe burst in any of the buildings.
The water supply system in the hospital was designed to ensure that as if it was, if you have a pipe burst in the hospital, then you have to shut the whole water system down. Unfortunately, we do not have reservoirs for the individual buildings, so that when you have the main pipe, not functioning, you can ensure supply of water for some time.
The hospital, on their own ingenuity, is using the meager resources available to buy polytanks for the individual buildings, a tax too huge for them to bear alone.
The pace at which we are buying the polytanks, we think that is disrupting our services, because anytime pipe is not, we have a pipe burst, we don't get water to the various units, and there's usually a lot of confusion. The hospital is fully functioning because all the units are in operation. So at every point in time, you have many people in the hospital, and it goes with the usage of water. So water supply is an area that we require support.
Two other areas of concern are accommodation for staff and inadequate consumables.
The other thing that I have to say is, consumables, medicines and non-medicine consumables. Because of COVID, in the past, we used not to wear masks every day, but now every staff has to put on a mask to protect himself or herself every day. So the usage of personal protective equipment has skyrocketed, and equally we need support in that area. So we appeal, we must help ourselves before people come from outside to help us. We are not seeing much of help from people within the region, apart from, said Dr. Jeder and then Justice Yoni Kolendi. We are yet to receive massive support from people from this region. And we think that as our own hospital, we have to show the way first.
Dr. Robert Amesia made the remarks following a donation of a culture pressure machine by one Mr. Edward Appiah of the Freemasons. Former Dean of the UDA School of Health and Medical Sciences, Professor Edward Jadari, presented the item on his behalf.
One of our members, by name Edward Appiah, who is also a member of the society to which I belong, was wondering how you would clean the place. The cobwebs that would be so high, how you'll be able to remove them, because the place was looking so neat that we expect it to be maintained in a position in which it is as of now. So he came out as an individual to promise that he will get this machine.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam.
Well, now from water, let's talk about other legal issues, but we'll do that right after this break here on the Pulse. Just there. Let's head to the court now, where father for Lillian Dejo, the woman who is alleged to have been beaten by her husband to death, Charles Kangla Blasu, says he will fight until there is justice for her daughter. He spoke to the media after a Medina District Court judge refused an application to grant bail to Prince Charles Dejo, a businessman accused of allegedly beating his wife Lillian Dejo, resulting in her death. Lawyer for the accused person, Captain Krabia Fadate, argued in court that he had the capacity to admit the accused person to bail, citing a judgment of the Supreme Court, a move which was opposed by prosecutors. My colleague Kwekwa Sante has more in the following report.
The District Magistrate Court judge said she could not entertain the application for bail because it could only do so at the committal stage per Section 119 of Act 30 and not at this stage of the trial. This was after lawyers for the accused person had applied for bail, arguing that the District Court had the power to do so. Meanwhile, another application for bail has been filed at the High Court, and lawyer for the accused person, Captain Nkrabia Ifadate retired, believes that the court will grant his client bail.
Where our application is pending, and it's coming up on 31st of March for the hearing to take place for bail. I have already written a letter here for the record of proceedings, so that the High Court judge will see what happened here on the 8th of March. I have no doubt in my mind that the High Court will admit my client to be. He is innocent, very innocent. And this ongoing trial by the media is not in the interest of justice. and fair play. There should be nothing like trial by the media, because you have tied the hands of the accused person. The accused person cannot speak. The accused person cannot make a press conference.
Father of the deceased victim, Charles Kangla Blasu, says he is believing God for justice for a daughter and added that domestic violence must stop.
I'm believing God that justice will be served. That's all I will say. I guess the reason there's so much support is because domestic violence is condemnable anywhere, any day. Shouldn't happen. And so, irrespective of the fact that it is my daughter who is dead, everybody who is concerned because that thing has to stop. There are many women today suffering in silence, and they should come out boldly now out of it. Nobody has to die again under such circumstances.
Female rights activists, including International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, say they will follow the issue until its conclusion.
We are here to support the family of Lillian. Domestic violence is a major problem in this country. UN has called it a shadow pandemic, and it's actually a shadow pandemic here because the people who die, which go unreported in this country, is so high. And the number of cases that are reported and unreported in this country on gender-based violence is so high and unacceptable. So we are watching brief. We want to make sure that justice is served. And that's why we are here, to support the family and to ensure that nobody goes through what Lillian goes through again.
The District Magistrate Court will sit again on 12th April 2021 for the case to continue.
Well, we'll follow that case with keen interest. But let me take you to Parliament now, where the Speaker, Alban Bagbing, is threatening to constitute the membership of the Parliamentary Service Board if an ad hoc committee tasked to nominate and recommend same for approval fails to do so by the end of the week. My colleague Parker Wilson joins us on the phone with more from that development in Parliament. Well, Parker, tell us more about this ad hoc committee and what the concerns of the Speaker is.
Member board, that's what we know, and two of the members are catered for in the Constitution. So, per the regulation here in Parliament, the committee would have to now nominate these individuals, 4 more individuals, for the approval of the House to join the committee. And one of them should be a former member of Parliament as well. And so, Parliament has been in session for 9 weeks without the formation of this board. And that is why today the Deputy Minority Whip raised the issue on the floor, because if the board is in place, they facilitate the recruitment of, staff here in Parliament and helps taking decisions and how to govern Parliament or how to handle or manage Parliament. So if they are not in place, what it means is that Parliament is not effective and there's a deficiency in terms of their activity. And that is why the matter came to the floor today. Now, the majority side, the majority whip, he made the point that, leadership are all part of the board, and they have been discussing this issue. And so it was proper, or it could have been proper, if the NDC had raised the issue at the leadership meeting and to bring the matter to the House. So after listening to the debate for and against on the floor, the Speaker then came in and said that, he's given them up to the end of this week, Friday. If they don't nominate the individuals for approval, then he himself would now go handpick people to come and constitute the board so that at least Parliament can effectively run. So that was what happened this morning in the chamber, MFA.
Okay, and the House is expected to approve budget for the ministries, departments and agencies. Is that happening anytime soon? What exactly is the talk around it? Well,
MFA, slightly disappointed because I know that today you were expecting some showdown in Parliament. Should any of the agencies or ministries' budget estimation come before the House? Unfortunately, just about 5 minutes, 10 minutes ago, Parliament was adjourned sitting, and they're going to return tomorrow. And so the members of the House have gone back to their various select committees to continue with the work with the budget estimate. So we are told that tomorrow, that is when the Finance Committee, in fact, they're almost done with their work. So Finance Committee will be filing their report tomorrow as far as the Finance Ministry is concerned. So that is all we know. Then subsequently, the other select committees will also do same with regards to the ministries and agencies and departments within the sector. The sector ministry.
Okay, sorry about that disappointment too, but of course we'll be following closely in Parliament tomorrow and join my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson for the very latest on that.
We're also expecting the petition from former founder of Unibank and also UT Bank CEO, Dr. Dufour, and also Prince Kofi Mwabin. That didn't happen. In fact, the Speaker himself this morning left the chamber quite early. We are told that because he wasn't available, that is why the petition wasn't presented to the floor of the House. So tomorrow, when he is available, we are quite certain that that petition will be presented to the House, and then the House will now debate it whether to refer it to the Finance Committee or an ad hoc committee will be set up to go through the petition.
Okay, but issues about road accidents also made a showing today. The roads minister has been raising concerns about it. Give us the details.
So the road minister, is saying that when we have good roads, obviously there will be a lot of accidents. And his argument is that a lot of the drivers on our road are indisciplined. So 90% of the road accidents, the fatalities we see on our road, is largely due to a driver indiscipline. And so he's asking all members of the House to make sure that when they go to their constituency, they can educate drivers and their constituents on risk safety measures. Now, however, this is coming on the back of a statement made by the North Zone MP, Kobla Woyome. In fact, the South Zone MP, actually, Kobla Woyome, about the statistics and the frequent road accidents within his constituency. He's asking for urgent steps to be taken because he mentioned that just in the year 2021, almost about 20 people have died. And that is worrying for a small constituency like his. And so he's asking for speed ramps to be more like constructed on the roads so that at least they could save lives going forward. So this generated some kind of conversation among the MPs where the minister himself likely was in the House, and he made that statement that going forward, they have to make sure that they educate their constituents on road safety measures.
Well, Parker, but I'm sure that other MPs had cause to raise concerns about these accidents on our road. At this rate, we're told that now 9 persons are losing their lives to road accidents. Is there really a way forward for our MPs? Are they really concerned about this, apart from the Southern MP raising it?
They are concerned. Those who spoke or contributed to the statement made the point about education. Very key. The fact that the minister is saying that good roads may lead to road accidents, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be driving on bad roads. If I'm looking at your car, for example, I'm not sure you would want to drive on bad roads with your vehicle. And so it is important that we go down to the lorry stations, the constituency, and educate the people. So there was one central message going through the statement of the MP: education. Educate the drivers, sensitize them, let them know the risk for overspeeding and the other issues. So that has been the central message today in Parliament.
Okay, thank you very much, Kwesi Parker-Wilson there. He's our parliamentary correspondent, bringing us the very latest from Parliament. House currently on recess. We're hoping that they'll be approving the appropriation for the various ministries, departments and agencies, but we're told that did not happen today, but we'll follow closely as they resume sittings tomorrow. This is the Pulse here on the JoyNews channel, and heads of companies in Ghana face fines and imprisonment as the Data Protection Commission prepares to prosecute business leaders who have failed to register with it. An amnesty issued for the organizations to comply with the law establishing the Data Commission expires this week, but the Commission says many have failed to comply so far. Affected businesses include airlines, media organizations, shopping centers, hospitals, churches, banks, NGOs, among others. Let's bring in the Commission's Director in charge of regulatory and compliance, Dr. Patrick Adono. We're grateful for your time, Dr. Patrick Adono. So explain to us what all this is about as we speak.
Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to your listeners. So the Data Protection Commission is a regulatory body set by the Data Protection Act 2012, that's Act 843, sorry. to regulate the processes of data, it's taking, it's keeping, it's processing, and its use. Now, the Act mandates that anybody who takes any form of data, any person who takes data from the Ghanaian populace or anybody in Ghana is supposed to register with the Data Protection Commission. Why? They're supposed to register so that the whole data and systems around data, around this time where the pandemic hit and we are developing as a people, we're doing a lot of things online, and our virtual presence is increasing. And so there must be some way to harmonize and to make the whole virtual space clean, the ecosystem clean. The Data Protection Commission is supposed to help in doing that, to regulate anybody who takes data. And that's the reason why data collectors or data controllers, anybody who takes data for any reason, must register with the Commission. A lot of institutions, a lot of companies, a lot of entities have not done it. And so in view of this, the Minister of Communication, Honorable Oslawusu Ekufo, launched an amnesty in October for 6 months, saying that anybody who has not registered could register within that space of 6 months. And if they did, every arrears they owed and any mistake they had done will be waived off. And the amnesty ends at the end of this month. Actually, I think we have just about 8 more days to go. And so we definitely are going to do a very strong enforcement action if anybody has not complied before the amnesty and still has decided not to take advantage of the amnesty, and because we must sanitize our data ecosystem.
Okay, so what exactly happens if in the next 8 days, if my business has not registered with your outfit? What then happens to that business?
Yes, if in the next 8 days, if you have not registered as a data controller, what happens is that we're going to come after you.
Okay.
And then, let me put it right, the law is going to come after you. We, like I said, we'll be doing enforcement actions, we'll be involving the media. I hope Joy Prime has registered, by the way, because if you've not done it, we're going to come.
Of course, this is not a question to even ask. It's been done. Right, so, you can check your record.
Yeah, so we're going to great. We're going to work with the media. We're going to work with enforcement institutions, the police, and others. With our own enforcement units, we'll endeavor to name and shame. And the public should know that anybody who is not complying to the Data Protection Act, you cannot trust doing business with them.
Okay. Dr. Patrick Adono, we are grateful for your time here on The Pulse, and he's with the Data Protection Commission. You ought to do that if you have not done it so far. I'll take a quick break. When we return, we have sporting action. It's time for sports on The Pulse, and we have the story of how a young girl changed the narrative of wearing hijab in Ghanaian football. She's Annatu Sadat, a beneficiary of the Michael Woleji Muslim Hijab Project. George Ado Jr. of Joy Sports caught up with her, and she's been speaking about what influenced her decision to wear the hijab and the pride of her parents for the media recognition she gained.
So you put it on, you got onto the pitch. Yeah. What your team is saying?
Everybody was surprised. And they were asking, am I going to use it to put? And I said, of course. They were just asking. Even the Muslims were asking. Because I don't know whether, because it hasn't been there, no one has been doing. So they were surprised. Then in the point I even got, I was like, my Christian mates are asking, why is it that my fellow Muslims are so asking? Then I just said, it's okay, because they didn't know anything about it. And actually, I told them, yeah, I'm going to use it. And I could see in the back, in the stands, the supporters, all eyes were just on me. They were just asking, what was this girl wearing? What is this? Like, most of my friends even thought I had an injury in my hair or something. I don't know. So I had to explain it to them. My fellows had to explain it to them. And even while I was playing, I could see the spots on me. People were just looking at me. So at the point, I even felt shy. I was shy because I was odd among all the teams, both my team and the opponent. I was just odd among them, so I didn't let it discourage me.
Did you have a good game?
Yeah, I did, and I would even say that was my best game throughout the first run. Yeah, I did enjoy it. So I don't know whether I had this. I don't know, but I would say it's good. It's good because it is I did something new there, something different, and actually my game also changed. So
you play well.
Okay.
So on the pitch, no obstruction, no uneasiness. You know, the fact that you're in a hijabi and moving.
No, not at all. Nothing restrained me at all. Nothing. It's just different because it's actually made in a sporting way.
Yes.
So the comfortability is there. It's just okay. I don't even feel like I'm wearing anything. It's just there. So I'm just okay. I'm just free.
After the game, your teammates, what were they saying?
The only questions that kept on coming was why I wore it. And it just kept on coming. Even after the game, when I came home, I had a lot of calls from my friends back in the house, in school, because the picture it went viral. Yeah, a lot of people saw it. So they were just calling me, my coaches, my teachers, was like, what did I wear? So I just don't know. They needed an explanation for it. I also didn't have anything to tell them because I just felt like wearing it is something I wanted to do and I did it. So that's the only explanation I gave them.
That's right. That's right. So how proud are you that you've been able to make this statement?
I'm very proud. I'm very proud, and it's very inspiring for me personally because being the first lady to do that, it's very amazed me a lot because I didn't know it's going to be something like this. It is something I just wanted to do, so I'm just surprised with the outcome and the kind of comments I'm getting out there.
And the Ghana Football Association was forced to put out a statement. Did you see the statement?
Yeah, I actually saw it. So, and that day, my dad even called me, and he said some of the words to me that he has never said to me. Wow.
Oh, tell me, like they were sweet words.
Yeah, very sweet. And my mom too. They were saying they were proud of me and stuff, and asking me what I want. Yeah, they are planning to give me a gift when I come home. So I'm very. I want to go home, so I will just go for it.
Well, that's good stuff. Okay, so that's a special one. So you're going to be wearing this going forward,
yeah,
or you wear it based on instinct, or you want to be part of your stuff?
I'm going to wear it throughout because it's going to be part of me now. It's going to be part of me now. I'm just going to wear it throughout my game.
Yeah,
they should watch out for it. I'm not taking it off.
You're not taking it off. Okay, yeah. You started that. That's pretty brave as well. So let's talk about the rest of your career. What are you looking up to? What do you hope to happen soon with your career?
I hope to play personally. I want to further with the ball professionally, and also hopefully next year I'll continue to the tertiary level. I'm actually good with the hand too. I have the hand skills with drawing and painting as well. So I'm actually going to continue that in tertiary level.
Wow, so you're combining school with this?
Yeah, I combine school with it.
You're a tough girl.
Yeah, I
am. A really tough girl, wow. But in terms of the football career, what, national team, you'll have to play national team?
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to serve my country here. Yeah. It would be an honor to do that.
An honor to do that.
Yeah.
Good. So just your final words then to other ladies watching you who have seen you do this, are still stuck, not too sure about whether they should step out. What do you have to tell them?
Mostly it's not their fault. It's their parents rather in the society. They prevent their words from coming out because of the issue of not covering the body and stuff. But I'm just urging, I'm encouraging and I'm motivating my other fellows to also step out to follow their dreams.
And that's my kind of girl, breaking all the barriers to make it. It's time for Let's Talk Showbiz. But tonight there's something big about to happen. Is the gold smugglers busted, the latest Joy News expose, and it's airing tonight at 8 p.m. It's a Joy News investigative piece. And of course, we're taking a look at the gold smuggling syndicate in the country being aided by national security operatives and then also the operations. And we'll give you all the details tonight at 8:30 p.m. here on the Joy News channel. Is busted, the gold smugglers. You don't want to miss that. And that's all in this package of the polls for today. And there's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. And the gold bastard syndicate is also making the top stories on myjoyonline.com. You want to visit that page and read more for yourself. I'll join you later tonight on radio for News Night. And also we have top story. Have a good afternoon and thanks for your company.